Well, what's up again, guys? Brian here at 3TR, here to give you my official review for the newest installment in the Fox lineup of Marvel films. This one simply being titled Deadpool 2. Now, this film was directed by David Leitch, which I believe is one of the directors of John Wick, and stars Ryan Reynolds coming back, also with Josh Brolin playing the character as Cable. And without going into too many spoilers, because I don't really want to say too much about the plot, but the core plot from what we've seen from the trailers is that Cable has come back through time from his post-apocalyptic setting to kill this kid, and something happens to Wade pretty significantly early on in the film, and he goes through a bit of a depression. And he feels that in order to kind of be reunited with someone that means very much dear to him, he has to protect this kid and protect him from Cable killing him. And that's really all I want to say, because Deadpool 2 was a blast. It was just as enjoyable as the first film, but in a very, very different way that I wasn't expecting. Now, without saying too much, the one thing that I think that Deadpool 2 does extremely well, that I can honestly say that even after a decade of MCU films, it manages to have a great amount of legitimately well-balanced and paced heart. This is a very emotional film with a lot of elements that I could easily relate to with someone that's kind of gone through a lot of really tough times as of late. And it works very, very well. And it manages to tell a very, very different type of story than we had in the first Deadpool movie, because I really, really enjoyed the first Deadpool. It was a perfect example of a studio listening to the fans and giving us the kind of movie that we wanted. Everything that you could expect was in this film, and that absolutely continues in this film, but it is done very, very differently. Ryan Reynolds absolutely knocks it out of this park as Deadpool. He was legitimately born to play this role. Josh Brolin has had a really great year. I mean, he was a really good villain in Avengers, even though I didn't really care too much about the film, as Thanos, and he does an even just as good of job as Cable and being presented as a legitimately good threat. There's a number of characters in the film that are introduced, but for the most part they don't really do too much, and I can say that for me personally, that was my one big flaw that I had with this film. It has that sort of tendency where it has more to the film, but it has more flaws, and most of the flaws, at least for me, were relying to the new characters that they introduced. Outside of the new Domino that we got, which I think the actress that played Domino did a phenomenal job, but most of the new characters that they introduced sadly don't really do too much. They're not even in the film that much, and what the film does do with them, I thought was really disappointing, because I'm like, if you're gonna spend the time to add these characters in and even give them dialogue, why don't you actually use them to actually some sort of effect? They're sort of just come to the film, they do something very, very little, and then they're gone. And I was like, what was the point of adding them? But that doesn't really apply to every single new character, because there was certainly a number of surprises about this film and characters that I didn't expect to see that absolutely enhanced my experience and made the movie that more fun to watch. And I will even say that, just like most MCU films, definitely stick for the end credit scene, because they do something with an element of time travel that was probably the single most enjoyable and creative use of an end credit scene I have ever seen in a film. They even managed to do something that affects some older films, and please try to avoid any spoilers online, because I did not expect these end credit scenes. I did not expect that they would ever do this type of thing with them, and it is incredibly creative. It is incredibly well over itself, all of the fourth wall breaking. And I can honestly say that if you really had fun with the first Deadpool movie, that you will not be disappointed with the sequel. Do I think that it is better than the first film? I can't go so far as to say it's better than the first Deadpool movie, but I can say that it is just as good without feeling that it repeats a lot of the things the first movie did. It is a very different type of film, but just as fun as the first film in a number of different ways. So if I had to give Deadpool 2 a rating, I'm going to give it an A-. This is an absolutely must-see film if you enjoyed the first Deadpool movie, or just want to have a fun with a movie in general. And this is a clear example as for why, personally, I don't want to see Disney gain the rights to Fox's properties, because I just don't think that Disney could tell this type of movie if they got their hands on the property. I don't think that Disney would treat Deadpool with as much respect as Fox has done, because I think that they've done an incredible job with the Deadpool character. Despite I know how much some people would love to see Deadpool in Disney's Marvel Cinematic Universe, but I don't. So that is my review of Deadpool 2. If you've already seen the film, tell me, what did you enjoy most without giving too many spoilers in the comments down below? And if you like this movie review, feel free to like, comment down below, and please subscribe to check my future movie and video game reviews, as well as press the links in the description to keep track of me on Facebook and Twitter. And like always, thank you guys for watching. You're awesome, and I will see you next time.